generated and is putting some teeth into and is getting some legs under. It's a wonderful thing. This word, legacy, is a significant word to me. I like the Bible. I hope you do too. But if you read the Bible, in the book of Genesis, talking about Abraham, Esau and Jacob had a battle about birthright. Birthright. Back in those days, the firstborn male had the right to the biggest share of the family's wealth. It was something to be prized, something to be valued, something to fight for. And in those days, Jacob, being the devious scoundrel that he was, cheated Esau out of his birthright. Fast forward to the Reconstruction days here in our great country of the United States of America. 40 acres and a mule. That was the promise. Everyone was supposed to get 40 acres and a mule. Can you imagine what this world, what this country would have been had our country kept that promise and given every black man an opportunity to have some wealth after coming out of slavery? But unfortunately, like too many other things in our history, they reneged. And as a result of that, black men kind of wallowed in poverty for a long time, a very long time. Some 50 years ago, things started to change precipitously. McDonald's, who happens to be one of my customers, was instrumental in making some of those things happen. There were a group of young men and women in McDonald's who said, you know, we do 19% of your business. Why don't we have 19% of your restaurants? And it took some fighting, took a lot of labor, took a lot of discussion. But over time, they were able to convince the folks at McDonald's that that's exactly what they should have. 2 months ago, I was honored to be able to attend a symposium out of Dana Point, California. It was an NBMOA, National Black McDonald Owner Operators Association, the largest gathering of millionaires, black millionaires in the United States, probably in the world. There were some 300 plus McDonald operators there. Every one of them in their own right, a millionaire, living that dream of a legacy. It's a beautiful thing when you can create wealth for your family, for your community, for your church, for those around you who you respect, who you love, who you care about. But it's not easy. It's not easy. Building a legacy requires some hard work. And every one of us at some point in time in our lives, all of you in this room at some point in time have thought about, how am I going to be remembered? What am I going to leave behind for my family, for my children, for the generations that follow? For me, I fell into that group that we didn't have much. We didn't know we were poor, but we didn't have much. My parents had 8 children. I was the baby of 8 children. My dad was a steel worker. I saw his check one time. He brought home $140. They owned a house, he had a car, and 8 children had gone through that house over the course of their upbringing. I think about that, and I think about the legacy that he left me, because it's priceless. Let me just read to you what his legacy was. Fear God. Stay humble so God can use you. Look a person in the eye when you address them. Have a firm handshake. Treat folks like you want to be treated. Be careful who you hang out with. Your company can hurt you. At the end of the day, your name is all you have. Don't do anything that destroys it. Sound familiar? I know my daddy wasn't the only one who had that. But he came up from South Carolina, married my mother when she was 14, he was 21. But there were some things that they knew
that were just inherently valuable, inherently priceless. He taught me those things. I never forgot them. I never forgot them. And as I moved along in my life, they enabled me to take hold to some of the opportunities that came knocking on my door. In 1994, I get a call from an old customer. He was in Baltimore, Maryland. I was in St. Louis, Missouri. He called me and he said, "Hey, Timmy, you ready to go to work for a living?" And that's a quote. And I said, "John, I'm working, I'm vice president. I'm getting ready to retire in 5 years." He said, "Well, I got an opportunity for you, and I want to come out there and talk to you about it." He flew out to St. Louis, Missouri, and he told me that he wanted me to be his sweat equity. I had never heard of the term. His sweat equity, which meant, I want you to run this business on site. We're going to buy a bakery together, and I want you to be my partner. And if you accept this, you don't have to sell your house, you don't have to go into debt, but I want you to be my partner. I'll give you 20% of the business. You have to run it every day. And when you pay off the debt, you can buy 31% more of the business at the same multiple. But some of you know what that means, obviously, but at the same multiple. We bought the business at a certain price of earnings based on the earnings of the business. And this man, John Paterakis was his name, he was true to his word. We paid the business off in 7 years. I gave him a check for $17 million. And we got 51% of New Horizons baking. And in 2013, 14, we bought the rest of the business. So now the Brown family owns that business. And over the last 27 years, we have grown the business 5 times, grown the equity 6 times. We have 500 employees across this greater area. We have 3 plants in Ohio and 1 in Indiana. And by the grace of God, we've been able to employ 500 employees who I call 1,500 employees, because I figure that every person who works for me has a spouse and 1 or 2 kids. So I tell my children that we're not making decisions just for 400 or 500. We're making decisions that impact some 1,500 or so people. So it's not something that we should be taking lightly at all. It's something that's meaningful, something that has an impact on a bunch of folks, and we need to make sure that we do it. We run our business by those principles that my dad taught me. I don't know if that's why John Paterakis called me as opposed to someone else, but I got a feeling that was a part of it. And I have a feeling that if you were to run your businesses similarly, that somebody will be calling you, that some door will be opening up for you that may not have been open before. But if you treat people like you want to be treated, if you run your business ethically, if you do those things day in and day out, that you can feel good about at the end of the day, you will be blessed. I'm a witness to that. I like to look in the mirror every night and like the person I'm looking at. You ought to be able to do the same thing. If you don't, then you need to change the way you're running your business. There's some folks in this room tonight, while you're here, while you have this opportunity, you should make sure that you see them, that you touch them, that you shake their hand before you leave here tonight. Lonnie, Vanessa, Melvin are just 3, but there's many others here. I just wonder if I could impose on the folks on the President's Council. If you just stand on your feet, just for a couple of seconds. I want everybody in this room to see you. But these are all entrepreneurs. These are folks who started with a little bit and did something and are still doing something because they're practicing the kinds of value systems, the kind of value creation, the kind of daily, day in and out morals and ethics that make good business people. They're not all $100 million businesses. They're not all $150 million businesses. growing. Warren is an anomaly. He's just one of those guys. You know? I love him like a brother. He is my brother. He is my brother. But make sure tonight, before you leave here, that you take some time to talk to these people. And remember what values really count. It's not always about that material value, that material substance that you end up with at the end of the day. It's about being able to like who you are. It's about being able to appreciate what you've accomplished by the grace of God and what you're doing with it for your family, for your community, for everybody around you. I got more here, but I'm not going to even say it. That's enough. God bless you. Have a great evening.